Today, the news broke that Jerry Springer, famous for the Jerry Springer Show, Jerry, passed away today of pancreatic cancer. Now, I grew up in the 90s, and if you grew up in the 90s, then goodness gracious, Jerry Springer was on all the time. All the time. And I don't know if I should have been watching Jerry Springer as a middle schooler.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay. Long story short, I grew up watching it, and how much of it was real, how much of it was fake, was really interesting. But the fact that it was mainstream TV and people freak out about like social media now, guys, this was prime time.
This is bad.
This is prime time. Okay, you're talking about all kinds of bizarre three-way relationships, sometimes four-way relationships. You had constant fights. Some of them were staged, some of them were not. You had just crazy things, and it all culminated ultimately, and Zach's going to talk about this on his channel, so watch his video about it, where in the early 2000s, someone went on there and...
The husband and his new wife confront the ex-wife on the Jerry Springer Show. And hours later, the husband deletes the wife after the episode.
The old wife.
The old wife.
So the issue was that was the show complicit, kind of guilty about it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
did they
creating
tension?
an environment where this sort of stuff was happening?
Frustration. Blood boiling.
And when did he go off the air?
Final episode date was July 26, 2018.
This man was still on the air in 2018?
Jerry Springer Show ran for 27 years with more than 4,000 episodes before coming to an end in 2018.
Bro, so this man was on from when I was in middle school in the 90s.
Yes.
Okay? My 90s middle school career was marked by the deaths of Tupac and Biggie and Jerry Springer.
Wow.
Okay? That's what I really remember. And he didn't go off till 2018.
When I graduated high school.
When you graduated high school. That's
Crazy.
a long time.
That's crazy.
So when I think about Jerry Springer, you know, the headline reads, mayor and television show host. The last time I really remember thinking about Jerry Springer was when he went on PBD's podcast and they debated his politics, his political views. And apparently later on in his life, he got really, really, really into politics. And so here is this dude who had, and by the way, I disagree with pretty much all of his political views, but here's this dude who has this career where he was a mayor, I think at a fairly young age.
Yep, 1977. He served one term.
Yeah, served one term as a mayor, was doing like news stuff, just like regular news stuff, and then pivots and does this like hyper sensational, pretty dark show. And it, you know, culminates to all kinds of weird stuff happening and real people being affected by their life. And I think about how often do we engage with the godly, virtuous thing that God may have outlined for us versus like the pragmatic, lowest common denominator, whatever gets the bag, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's really sad that here he is, he passes away, and what is the legacy ultimately going to be? Right? Like, what are people going to remember him for?
Yeah.
Some people remember him as an innovator for content.
As a Gen Zer, I don't remember him as an innovator.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I remember him as like a show that made me feel yucky.
Yes.
I remember him as a saying you would do when someone's getting into a fight. Jerry. His name is synonymous with like marital issues and like world star hip hop.
That's good. He was world star hip hop before he was world star hip hop. And I juxtapose it with this verse that Sean Cannell actually sent me not too long ago. Go down to verse like 27, 28. We were talking about this verse the other day, and this is the end and or summary of King David's. King David was far from perfect. But listen to how the scriptures summarize his life. It says, so David, son of Jesse, reigned over all Israel. He reigned over Israel for 40 years, 7 of them in Hebron and 33 in Jerusalem. He died at a ripe old age, having enjoyed long life, wealth, and honor. Then his son Solomon ruled in his place. That verse right there. Died at a ripe old age, enjoyed his long life, had wealth and honor. Is that what someone who passes legacy going to be? When it's all said and done, is that what we think about? Honor, right?
Yeah.
Long life, ripe old age, enjoying their life. Or is it going to be, well, kind of did some scummy things.
Wouldn't let my kids watch that.
I wouldn't let my kids watch that. Right? I think this is the tricky part about all the different pathways that people can take in this life is there's a lot of stuff that can work, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's working for your benefit.
Yeah, he has a quote saying, I think the show is silly, crazy, and has no redeeming social value other than an hour of escapism. There is never anything on our show that hasn't been on the front pages of newspapers in America. The only difference is that people on my show aren't famous. Huh. I think it's crazy. His redeeming social value has no redeeming social value other than an hour of escapism. And it's like, who's escaping to that? Like I would.
It was the biggest show in America for all the 90s.
Exactly.
Everyone was escaping to it. Including middle school kids.
Exactly, though.
Yeah.
That's how horrifying it is. I mean, because then, like, you follow the generations after that.
Mm-hmm.
The debaucherous, like, it's kind of a tell of, like, the lowest common denominator.
Oh, yeah.
Of human.
Yep.
Is like, I will spend my free time watching somebody else's horrible, horrible problems. And then when we're talking about like, what's the soundtrack to your life? It's like, that was your free time?
Yeah.
That's other people's trauma. Like that's
other people's trauma is your entertainment.
Some people grow up watching their parents, Jerry Springer, in the freaking living room every single day. And we're out here semi-functional being like, yeah, let's watch that.
Yeah. When my wife was pregnant with Zoe, she would watch my 600-pound life.
Oh no. Exposing her.
All the time.
That's amazing.
And I would tease her because I would say, you watch this because in your mind, you just you feel better about yourself because you watch these folks over here.
Oh man.
And I feel like that is why the appeal of Jerry Springer is like you're watching people far gone. You go, like, well, at least I'm not that jacked up.
I don't got it together, but I don't got it not that bad. Bad. Yeah. It's like, geesh.
Yeah, somebody said dangerous game, Ruslan.
That is a dangerous.
But you're watching people completely immersed in their addiction, struggling.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, it's a massively popular show. And then I'm like, you're pulling for these people, and some of them change their life, and some of them don't.
Yeah.
You know, some of them don't.
What's your like? As someone that didn't watch it, I'm curious. As someone that did watch it, especially in the hot moments of that time, what's your biggest takeaway from the show? Like I just saw it as like people arguing and fighting, but you said there's some people that change, or you're pulling for people. Like, what is the pull? What's if you had to give it the redeeming value? What is that?
Of what show?
Of Jerry Springer.
The redeeming value?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was. I mean, I'm really struggling to find redeeming value.
Like if you had to give it one redeeming value.
I think the fact that if I had to give him one redeeming value, was that he seemed poised and like a calming figure in the midst of complete chaos. Like he was the normal one in the room, even though I'm sure on some level he was orchestrating all the chaos.
He was kind of like the Joker to me.
He was kind of like the Joker. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think he knew what was going to create conflict, and I think he understood. If I had to give him that, was that he was the redeeming character, the normal one, the normal ringleader in the room, and he knew what was going to get eyeballs.
Yeah.
You know, he knew what was going to get eyeballs. And though people can have critique about the internet today, if you think about the number one thing right now, like Mr. Beast, like that's a much better for teenagers to be watching.
Oh yeah.
Than Jerry Springer.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean? Middle schoolers watching Mr. Beast is 100 times better. So like, even though there's still a bunch of debauchery,
if
we're looking at what is the biggest, even when Logan and Jake Paul were it, or who was the it before them?
Yeah, Logan, Jake Paul.
But who was some other folks that like speak to that like 10 to 18 demographic? Because that's what drives culture.
Yeah.
A lot of time, or at least like trendy culture.
Yeah.
Right. That's still substantially better than the 90s of Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Substantially better.
So culture has gotten better and cleaner.
I think so. I think so. I mean, the trad wife video I reacted to, the dude pointed out how there's less intimacy scenes, explicit intimate scenes in movies now than there were ever before, right? And that's also because they're trying to make stuff more PG-13 and more mass appealing globally.
And you can watch it from home.
Yeah. So things kind of swing in opposite directions, right? Like, because then I think people were over Jerry in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And then people swung back over to World Star Hip Hop and like really dark debaucherous stuff as the internet really exploded, the dark web, and I think it's kind of swung it swung back and forth, right? Jerry Springer, okay, we're off that. This is really dark, and then like boom, World Star Hip Hop, really dark fight videos, that kind of stuff is going crazy, and it seems like we've shifted away from that. I'd say in the last decade. I could be wrong, but it seems like we have.
Yeah,
I think that's good. Yeah. If you enjoyed this stream, consider partnering with us on our online community. Go the extra mile so we can stay independent, never have to take a brand deal, and make goofy commercials like these.
Our friends at Genucel Skincare have exciting news to celebrate in 2023.
Using Manscaped during my showers after workout has given me much more confidence.
And that's where Mudwater comes in.
True Classic has got your back.
All thanks to the sponsor of today's video, SayMine.com.
Established Titles is your opportunity to earn the title of Laird or Lady. Subject to credit approval, rates range from 7.99% APR to 19.99% APR, included 0.50% auto pay discount.
If you don't want us to make ads with brands you don't care about, sign up for our online community for as little as $5 a month to keep us independent and ultimately answering to you as our boss. You get all sorts of benefits like daily replays of our after party streams, exclusive access to our Discord community, and early access to our podcast interviews, all starting for only $5 a month.
King Street.